Anyways, hi, Garret.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm amazed. We drove up here and I was just amazed. Like, you live on, it said turn on Hope Street.
Oh, wait. Which one is Hope? Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right
I
here,
took a picture of it. It's on my phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, we're going to make a ride on Hope Street. And
I've never even fucking noticed
I was
that.
inspired. I mean, I was inspired to come in here. But when I hit Hope Street, I was inspired. I got out. Like, I was like, this is a miracle right here. That's in like in a Christmas Story or something like that, right?
I've lived here in this so I've lived in this cute town for like 5 or 6 years, but this particular neighborhood for 2.5 years. That main street is Hope Street. That turns into my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Notice that or put that shit together until right now. So, yeah. Isn't this a cute little area?
I love this area. It reminds me of where I live.
Where are you?
I'm in Santa Clarita. I live over in Valencia, and it's in a little bubble like this, so it's really nice. But but driving up here to here, I'm in Hope Street. Like, I live on Avocado Lane, so like it's,
Both good things.
Both good things.
Both good things.
Yeah, definitely. So.
Well, thank you for making the drive and coming out. And like I told you, I know a little bit about your story. Let's start from the very beginning. Are you from Valencia?
I'm not from Valencia.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Antelope Valley, Palmdale, Lancaster area.
Okay.
And I was born and raised out there. I'll just go from the beginning. And so I came from, my parents were married at first, and I had a sister, and everything seemed really fine. Parents, no problem. School, big house, everything, really, really good. But my parents got divorced. I must have been 5, my sister 6. And I don't know if I really felt any ill feelings over that or anything like that. Like I remember the parents setting us up on the bar and telling us kids, hey, we're splitting up. And you're just like, oh, all right.
That's how you felt?
Yeah, I don't call like no emotions or no feelings towards any of that. I just know that all of a sudden, like we went and moved into a smaller house, and like my dad was gone. My dad, maybe he had to go do healing, and he had to do whatever he had to do, and I stayed with my mom. I do recall though, like after a moment, my mom, like there was another guy at the house, and we come home from school one day, there's another guy at the house. And then that guy stayed, for the next lifetime. But like he moved in, that was my mom's new boyfriend,
Okay.
And,
so forever.
Forever.
Until he passed
away. Forever, but not forever. More like he came along, they got the house together, but that's when all the abuse, that's when all the drugs, that's when all the alcohol, that's when I seen all this stuff for the first time. Like it was like, your parents have parties and like, poker parties and stuff like that. And it was like, and all the kids be playing, and you don't think nothing of it, but like, then all of a sudden my mom had this boyfriend, and then their addiction and their unmanageability is taking place. And so we're going from, living, in this house into this small apartment. Like we're sneaking in the dogs, we're sleeping out in it's just a lot of fighting going on.
Unmanageability
going on.
So let me ask you this. Your parents also did all that kind of stuff, or when the new guy came into the picture is when things started getting crazy?
My parents always, I don't think I noticed it. My parents hid it. We had a big enough house to where they hid all that stuff,
Did they both use your mom and would you call him your stepdad, or what do you call
my
him?
mom and stepdad? Okay. Yeah, they both used and they both drank. And, I had the best of both worlds, I like to say it. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug addict,
What was her drug of choice?
Methamphetamine.
Okay.
And so,
was that obvious to you when you were a kid?
It wasn't obvious until probably I got into like the junior high-ish.
Okay.
And, until early junior high. I was that boy with my mom. My mom took me around, she was in and out of this relationship with this guy that, Tom, and so then they fight, they break up, they get back together, they fight, they break up, they get back together. I go live from this house to that house with my mom. My mom was in her disease, so I was that little kid with my mom going around the house to house to house to house. My mom was, you don't think nothing of it when you're that age, but you identify with all that stuff, once you start looking at it, like, oh, my mom was out there taking me, she's getting, parents are in the room, kids are in the living room, mom and them are getting loaded, and then nighttime comes, like, 9 or 10 o'clock comes, a kid got to get home because my son got school tomorrow, and we get home, and the abuse got real. My mom, she was in an abusive relationship with that guy for many, many years, and she tried. Whatever. I had a little sister that she got pregnant. I had a little sister, so I got me a baby sister, and then I just found myself. My mom was in her disease, and I'm watching. Like they say, like I grew up too fast.
Yeah. Did she work? How did you guys have money?
Mom didn't work. She welfare. I did all the food banks, Salvation Armies, all that different, all those things that you can think of,
Okay. Did the dude work and help at all?
The dude, no, I just remember, I remember times, I don't think so. He was just, he worked minimum.
Right. Okay.
Never
so active
steady.
addicts just getting by with cash that they could come up with. It's funny that you say that because I've always thought about, so I don't have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there's this moment that's so clear. A meth connective hours was staying in a motel in Oceanside, and we went to his motel, and he was in the back, him and his wife or his partner or whatever, and me and my boyfriend, and his kid was in the living room, and he was 7, and he was playing video games. And we were smoking meth and shooting dope and smoking cigarettes. And I remember walking by the kid and walking out, and the kid was just and I've thought about that kid. I don't even remember that meth connect's name because this is a wild ass story, but my boyfriend he had 2 Russian tortoises that connect, which are really valuable turtles. And they were in a Tupperware. And my boyfriend, I wasn't there. He was like, "What is that?" to the kid. And he said, "Oh, those are my pets," while he was playing whatever Call of Duty. And my ex took him because he was a real animal lover. So and it's a good thing we did. They actually would have died in that little Tupperware.
Yeah.
At first I was like, "No, you need to bring him back," whatever. But so we stole the tortoises and ran out. Never saw the guy again. I don't remember his name, but I wonder about
He's going to find you now.
Yeah, right.
You owe me 2 turtles.
You know what? I've actually told that story multiple times on the podcast and in a TikTok recently. I welcome whoever you are. I would actually love to talk to you again. A, how's your kid? B, how much longer did you stay? I have many questions for this guy because he was fucking hooking us up. You know how occasionally a connect will be in a good mood?
Oh,
and he was just giving us meth, giving us free dope. And my ex was up front and we were just hanging out and talking. And he came to the door and was like, "Hey, we got to go," because he had put the anyways, yeah, maybe he listens to Chasing Heroin.
Wait a second.
That's exactly. I was
I gotta leave now. Now.
Yeah, and he was like, "Yep, we gotta go. We gotta go right now." And we ran down to this corner, which is actually interestingly the place I ended up going to rehab for the last time. We stopped on the steps of the place that would later be my last rehab. And he was like, "Check it out." And he pulled these baby tortoises out of his pockets. And I was like, "You better bring those back." And he was like, "Oh, they were going to die." And I was like, "Oh my God," just tweaky shit. And so we ran
ruined
home.
it. You just ruined it. Now we can't go back and get high.
And now we have pet tortoises that I have to take care of. Yeah. And they were actually pretty high maintenance pet anyways. So I always wondered about that though, how the child feels when that's happening, but you don't really know. It's
you don't know what you don't know,
right?
And so it goes on. My mom, my mom was meeting these guys, and she'd go and I remember this one guy, just so much drugs and alcohol and just lots of torment. My mom, my sister lived with us until maybe 8 or 9, and then she moved in with my dad, and then it was just me, and then and my dad. I had that choice at that time too.
Oh, you did?
I did.
My dad chose to stay with your mom.
And I chose to stay with my mom. I had that choice. My dad was like, "You can come live with us, and have everything given, and have a childhood, maybe a decent upbringing." I wouldn't do it.
Why did you choose to stay with your mom?
I'm a mama's boy.
Yeah.
I just think I don't, all the pain, it doesn't matter. A boy just loves his mom.
My brother is like that too. Yeah, he would die for my mom.
100%.
For sure. She's a wonderful woman, but he would die for me. And I was such a daddy's girl. So were you going to school and stuff? Did they take you to school? Did you go?
I went to school. So for me, it was all good. It's 6th grade. Junior high. I remember junior high, 7th, 8th grade. I remember, I had older sisters. My dad got remarried, older sisters, and so drinking alcohol with them. Once you get to a certain age, and I'd be going out partying with them, house parties, doing all. I was just little baby brother tagging them. Plus, another thing is that I'm super tall,
right?
So it wasn't like I'm some little kid.
Right.
I'm
you already looked.
When we were sneaking cars out as kids and stuff like that. Garret, you got to drive us into town. You're the only one that looks like an adult.
7.
Yeah. We're 13 years old. I remember we drive up to the arcade and. I was remember that we drove to the arcade and we played games, and then we get gas in the car so the parents couldn't tell that we used it, and
that was actually pretty smart that you did that.
Yeah,
that was a good idea. I don't think I ever thought to do that.
We almost died one time. My friends were in the car and I'm driving, of course, and it was raining and And they're like, go on the side and do fishtails. And I was like, all right, let's do it, you know? And went down, we did fishtails, and then we just completely spun into like, and just out of control. And then landed on the other side. And I was literally, when we came to you, or when you look over, like the telephone pole was like right here.
Oh, shit.
And the car was dead. We're in a trench and we're all into each, like completely lost control.
So
and
you wrecked the car.
You know what? I did not hit the telephone pole. I just landed.
Did you get it out of the trench and bring it home?
This is the most miracle thing. We all sat there in silence, and in the old car, the ignition's on. It's like, we're sitting there, and we turn it off, and the car started back up, and we creeped right back out, and we were just like, oh my God, like that was so cool, and by this time, like my mom, all of her boyfriends and stuff stopped, and I had many different boyfriends, and now my mom has like a connection. I move out to this ranch. My mom and my grandma go back out to their, like where she grew up. It was just this ranch, and like my mom's like riding her horses and doing all this stuff. I'm getting ready to. I'm like in the 7th to 8th grade. I'm still like my mom's in her disease, but like by this time, like my mom, like I wake up in the morning to go to school, and my mom was one of those ones that she stay up all night, and then like I wake up like, Mom, I need a ride to my bus stop. Was a mile away. Like my bus stop was not like I could walk down the street to my bus stop. It was like it was a ways, and and my mom, I could not wake her up in the morning, And my mom, like with that boyfriend would come, and my mom, I had guns and stuff in my room as a kid does, and like my mom,
Hold on. Most kids don't have guns in their room.
Well,
what do you mean? I have guns in my room as kids do.
Well, like
Did you have guns in your room? I already know you didn't.
I'm growing up on a ranch, and so like you have like my mom, like a rifle. There's like coyotes.
So like hunting stuff.
Okay. Like not like handguns.
Shit.
No gangster stuff. Just like a little
that makes more sense because I'm from Georgia. There you go. Okay.
So like a rifle, and my mom, and then I teach that you always leave the safety on, and like her and that guy be fighting bad. Like it was always really bad when he came, and she would run, and I'd be sitting in my room listening to it, just like hiding in the silence, and she'd run in my room like, where's your gun? And she'd grab my gun, and thank God, like I kept the safety on, and like literally I hear him in the hallway. If I didn't have that safety on that gun, she would have shot him, to death, and they fall through the doors, and it was always a bigger deal. But then another thing that happened though is I finally got tall enough to where like I'd be more of a protector for my mom. So now that I'm taller, now I'm fighting all these guys that are coming over and being abused or like disrespecting even what I thought disrespect.
We thought was
like I'm fighting all these guys, and I remember the time like my mom's coming in my room. Mom was so high, and most of the time, and she's always misplacing her stuff, that she would come and she'd be like, here, she'd be like, hold it, stash this for me,
Of her dope?
Of her dope.
Were you using yet?
I'm drinking. I'm smoking weed.
Okay.
And then, I'm very close to like getting the taste of the speed, and like my friends would come over. I live in a bigger, in a bigger ranch area. Like we all grew up in the country, and so like they all would come over. And the thing is that my mom was always up. A lot of times we had horses in our front yard, like my mom would like the horses in her front yard to graze the grass or whatever, and my friends would try to sneak, like we always had to sneak over I always had to sneak over to my friends' houses. Yeah. But my mom would be like, oh, I think there's somebody outside.
It's you?
And no, it's my friends. And she'd be like, they're scaring the shit out. Tell them to come to the door, And so I'd be like, you guys don't have to sneak in my house, we can just come over here, and so I always had that place where we could go to my house and do whatever. And I remember we'd all be sitting in my room, and I pull out my mom's, stash, and I'd be like, hey, you guys want to do some, So you
did start doing it at some point.
So I got little bumps, and then my mom's connection, which like probably her boyfriend at the time too, like he's in the mix, and like since I didn't really have a father figure, like I really like latched onto him because what it is he was just a man that treated me with respect. Yeah. Right. He sort of like, manly stuff. He had motorcycles. And like, he had some stuff going on that I liked. Had a very nice, convertible, had a very nice play pool, all this good stuff. And I'd go spend time with him, and I watch him. It wasn't that I was dabbing along or anything like that. But I watch how he'd sit there and I sit there and I watched him as he sold drugs.
Okay.
I watched it. And then he offered me some. I did it. Next thing I know, it's like I'm learning this whole way of life of selling drugs.
Okay.
And then by the time I get my freshman year in high school, like I'm already like been selling drugs a little bit and I'm using drugs and I'm selling marijuana. By the time I don't make it to my 10th grade.
So were you just snorting meth at that point or smoking it?
I was just snorting it and I was getting into smoking.
Okay.
And I got into smoking.
So you didn't keep
I
going
thought
to school.
at this time I was scared of needles.
Okay.
I hung around with lots of people that did needles, and I was like, I'll never be that bad.
I think we all say that.
Yeah, right. I look at it like, oh, this is more like a business for me to make money, because I come from nothing, so I seen that hustle in it, right?
Yeah.
And I go through, and I'll tell you one thing that guy did is I had an 8th grade dance at my school, and I tell you that connection did, man, is that he dressed me up for that dance, and he took me to that school dance. I'll never forget that. I got a picture. I still have that picture of that junior high picture from that school dance.
Well, listen, I mean, I think people forget that connects are just other addicts.
Yeah, 100%.
And some of them are really nice people, and some of them are assholes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. My first heroin connect is who got me clean years later. You know what I mean. He got busted. He did like 18 months, got out, did really well, got me into a sober living. I mean, he changed my life, right? Once on the downward and once on the,
upward.
They're just like people, So you stop going to school at some point.
I stopped. By the time I'm my freshman year in high school, I made it to that Christmas break. By this time, all hell breaks loose. My mom is ended up going to jail. I mean, I'm pretty sure that when we got pulled over, she has a substance on her. She goes to jail. Everything out there on that ranch that it was lost. I go to stay with my grandma. My grandma lives in town, so I went from a farm to like it seemed like a city. When you grew up way out somewhere and you come into the town, it's like I'm in the city. By then, I meet up, and by this time I got that taste. Drinking not so much. I mean, I drank, but I'm into marijuana, I'm into speed, and I start selling it, and I meet more guys that are connected into that way and that lifestyle, and then I find myself out there hustling every, I leave my house for 5 to 7 to 10 days. I'm out there, I'm just out there in the serving these apartment buildings, just selling drugs all the way through, and then staying at other people's houses. And I come home, and then one day I come home and mom's out of jail.
Okay.
And
did you guys go back to the original house, or had she lost it?
Lost everything.
Okay, so she's out.
By the time she gets out, I tell her that I said, Mom, you should start buying your drugs from me now.
Yeah.
And
were you making decent money at that point? Like, did you have enough money to like buy a car and buy clothes?
I got a car. By this time, I got 15 years old. It was just before I stopped going to school that I got the apartment. I got this car, and I, thinking like, why do I need to go to school?
Yeah.
Like, why,
Totally. Okay, so I have a random question for you. Because I was a meth addict and a heroin addict. I have never in my life understood, what's a fucking teener? What the count is that? Yes, what is that?
A 16th is half an 8 ball.
What's okay?
A 0.8, I think.
An 8 ball is 3.5 grams.
1.5 is 3.5, and it's what 1.7 for the. All
right. What a random only tweakers do that. And I was always like, what do you, like anytime I'd go to buy meth, which was as often as I could, right? Like I was primarily a heroin addict, but who wants to do heroin alone? No one.
Nobody.
Definitely not me.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to also get meth. And every once in a while, if you met someone, because I was like super small time, right? So they would just have a gram.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you meet someone like you, and they're like, well, you want a teener? And I'm always like, what is this fucking teener thing? It's like this random.
It's like just over a gram.
All right. Okay. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's probably what I got told. Right? That's probably what I got told. Okay. So when your mom got out and
my mom got out and it's just like my mom meets another guy. It just goes into a lot of crazy nonsense. I mean, I'm going to tell you that I probably got 80 tickets in this car. Like the car
Speeding
was
tickets,
dude,
parking tickets, just everything.
Expedition of speed. The car was dying of my disease. Like it was just like this car. The cops didn't take it, but I mean, literally, like you're out in it. Like I would stay in that car and drive in. I mean, doing crime, selling drugs, like all over.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Toyota Celica.
Sure.
Just last night. Did it have
a spoiler on it?
No spoiler.
Did you want
it was a
one?
coupe. It was a coupe one.
Okay.
I didn't want no spoiler.
All right,
my God. And I went through changes in this car. We used to stay up at night spray painting. It was just one of those tweaker mobiles. Yeah. It was nothing. I remember one time I stole another car and I put the rims off. and I put the rims off the one I stole on my car, and I'm with my buddy, and I was always like, man, doesn't it feel weird? And he'd be like, dude, you're tripping, man.
You thought the rims felt different?
Well, dude, what happened is I had the wrong lug nuts on these wheels, and so like the whole thing was just like dog walking, and my friend was like, you're tripping, and the wheel flew off, and it passed us up and stuff, and I was like, I knew I wasn't high,
I'm sorry, you were driving and you saw the wheel go by you
I was driving, and all four wheels had the wrong lug nuts on it, and I'm driving around, and like, and the whole it's dog walking, so it feels like it's going like this, and sort of just like it's just like it's like you're in a boat, and it was just like, and I kept on going really slow, and then all of a sudden I was like, man, I'm tripping, right? Yeah, you're right, dude. I am. It's all in my head. I've been up too many days, and then all of a sudden the tire just is like boom, and it just fucking passes us up, and not only that, it goes through, and it's right by a school, and it's right through the crosswalk, and like it goes in the bushes, and I pull over, and then like I have to go like get the tire, and I can't put it back on,
So when your mom realized you were selling dope, did she say anything like, I don't really want you to doing this, I want you to go back to school, or was it like, fine,
no.
This is what we're doing now?
You know what? She really didn't. Like, I don't remember. I didn't have no pep talks or heart-to-heart talks or anything like that with my mom. And basically, I mean, I sort of like took off. No,
she didn't really have a choice.
She didn't have a choice.
Okay.
Even if she did, like, I don't think I would have.
Yeah.
I was out. I was all of a sudden gone, like, out the nest.
So besides selling dope, what were some of your other hustles? You said you were also doing crime in the South. What?
So, I mean, my crime went from selling weed to methamphetamine to guns to heroin.
Selling guns.
Yeah.
Okay. And then selling heroin.
And then
Did you become a heroin addict?
And selling all at once, and to stealing and chopping cars and motorcycles and to every single thing. So by the time I hit 20, I got busted. I got 17 in a stolen car. By the time I hit 21 years old, I'm on my way to prison. I got busted. I got manufacturing. I'm getting GTAs. I got a chop shop. I got guns, an arsenal, and all this stuff. By this time, I'm still not putting a needle in my arm. I'm selling and I'm using, and I'm not like cooking like monstrous bad. Basically, like, I'm so addicted to this drug. Like, I'm cooking it for myself.
For yourself.
For myself.
Okay. So when you say manufacturing, you were manufacturing meth.
Methamphetamine.
So I don't think this is interesting. I don't think I've interviewed anyone yet that made meth, which you'd think I would have by now. Do you still remember how to make it?
A little bit. I mean, it could probably come, but vaguely.
You're like, it wouldn't maybe come back. If you saw the ingredients, you could put it together.
I could definitely probably go get it but like, yeah, it was a process. It wasn't like,
right.
The process did, and there was different ways. It wasn't like, it wasn't just like one way, because like laws changed, and you weren't able to get stuff, and the cops were on it, so you had to like
totally
like the raid, the ephedrine, like you're going through
raid bug spray.
Yeah, like they had ephedrine in certain stuff, and you had to like extract it out because they stopped. You couldn't go and like just buy ephedrine in it.
Right.
Like, it was like, and all the bills, like you're going to buy all this. You're having a crew of people going to buy all the Sudafed from every farm, every store, and then all of a sudden they start marking it down. Like, do you really need 50 boxes of Sudafed? And so you have all these girls or guys just going in. I'd be like, you got to go buy all this stuff, Sudafed, and then I have people in my garage just popping up on all these like for days, it seemed like, just popping these pills and pills.
Where were you making it?
Garages and sheds, at my own house.
Did you ever have anything blow up?
Absolutely. My garage went into my kitchen many times.
Wait, hold on. Tell me at least one blow up story.
It just and
all of a sudden, so
it's like this. So you go to check the pH, and it seems like air hits it, and then all of a sudden it is just like within an instant, it's just like boom, and it blows up, right? And it's like it blows a hole, it just like blew. Like,
do you get burned?
I did not get burned. No.
Just back up. How do you not get burned?
Luckily it was on like the opposite, like I'm on this end. Like I first and foremost is like I broke the rule. Like I started getting high. Like I usually like, hey, look, sleep.
Okay.
Because you get high. You get high from you get an adrenaline pump by making it. So here I am after 7 to 9 days of being up, trying to make more, right? Okay. And it's just like, and you're tweaking out on it. Like you should not be. You're messing with hoses and fans and chemicals, and you're watching your own house. Like you're just like your dog's dog's looking at you like you're crazy, you know, and you're talking to your dog in full-on conversations and you're getting higher.
Did you have cameras where you could see around your house?
Dude, I had camera. Yeah, you know what? They never did me no good.
You're totally
They never did. I mean, literally what they do is they stall me out.
You see the cops coming.
Yeah, but I never did. I never did. When you needed them the most, like I was not watching the cameras. I wasn't having somebody watch. I had them, but for what? Because nobody's watching them, you know?
Right,
they just stop. And then when the time was watched, like all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of people at your house getting high. Like, and you all of a sudden, all of us are stuck just looking at the cameras. And know what I always see on the cameras? I seen other people. I seen like those tree people, mailbox people, shadow people. I see all that stuff. And then I go outside and I'd be crazy because I'd be outside with a gun and I'd be looking down I'd be trying to hide and I'd be like looking down my street, you know, and then I go back in and I'm talking like I wouldn't just be looking like this at the wall. Like I would be looking in my camera, like it'd be like right here and you're looking at it, right? And then you're going back outside and you're looking and like then all of a sudden the sun starts coming up and you're like, damn, I'm like, dang, I need to go to bed.
Listen,
right.
We broke into in Oceanside this like beach mansion. Okay, me and my ex, the same guy that took the turtles. So we broke into this abandoned house. We used to call it our beach mansion, but there was fucking nothing in it. No toilets, no electricity, and
but a roof. That's all we needed. That's all we needed.
A legit mansion, like sliding glass doors that went out onto the sand. Oh, yeah. And he was stealing right next door to it was condos, like really fancy condos. And he broke into the model unit to steal all the flat screens.
I know exactly what he's doing.
And he got two, but he dropped one. And we left the place because we knew they were going to call the cops. And there was clearly like a tweaker pad right next door, right? So we leave for like a week. We're sleeping somewhere else. And then we go back because there was a little guest house in the back and over like the garage. So we break into that and we're staying there for maybe like a day. And we're in this back area and he's like, hey, there's a cop like at the door. And I said, really? And he was like, yeah, I can see their shoes. Go look. And I was like, man. So I like army crawl to the door and I look under and I see for sure two black, shiny, you know, military
shoes, 100%.
Police shoes or whatever.
Yeah, polished up.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, there's a cop here. Makes sense, right? Because we stole the TVs. And military crawl back and hours go by. And I'm like, we're like, is that guy like with us? Like, is he a detective? Because he was selling guns too. And I'm like, what's going on? I don't even know how long. 10 hours. Like we start getting dope sick. And eventually he stands up and looks out the window. And of course there's no one there. I'm sure no one was ever there. And I am positive I saw those shoes. Another time, I've actually never told the story on the show. A buddy of mine. So we briefly had a place. He was an ex-military guy. And so we had some money from the Marine Corps. And so we actually had a place for like 6 months. And when you have a place in our world, it's the shooting gallery. Everybody wants to go there, which is cool because we were next to the casino. So like the meth connect wanted to stay with us because it was next to the casino. And so it was like amazing because we had the place everyone could go to. One of my tweakeriest friends, Dan, comes over and he's leaving at like 4 a.m. And he opens the door and immediately shuts it and turns around and is like military signs. He's like pointing for us to go back. And we're all like, and we all slide off the couch and get on the ground and military crawl to the back. And he's like, we're about to get raided. There's 5 cops on one side, 5 cops on the other, guns out. Like they were approaching the door right now. We're getting raided. And I'm like, man. And so we're looking out the back window because he's got warrants, my boyfriend. And I'm like, should we jump out the back? And we're looking out. Hours go by. And they don't raid us. Nothing happens. Finally, at like 8 a.m, he actually goes and they're gone. And we think, oh my God, we must have like spoiled the raid, right? Because like half of it is the element of surprise. For years, I thought, I guess we caught him in the middle of that raid and they changed their minds. And recently, I've got 9.5 years. I recently realized he was tweaking out. Nothing was there, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there's no way they changed their minds.
Yeah.
If they had 10 dudes, because they were going to raid us because my ex had guns and stuff. Like, I don't think they would have changed their minds, right?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't that probably
they
all
never changed their mind, ever.
Because then they also never came back.
Because they have to plan it all out.
Of course.
And it costs a lot of money for them to change their mind on the scenario like that.
And we lived there for another 3 months.
Yeah.
They didn't come back the next day.
Yeah.
And years later, I was like, I don't think that happened. I don't think that was real. Anyways.
I've been in multiple, I mean, from raids from a young kid, from a kid
scary.
before, as a young kid.
It's so scary.
Uncle's house, other people's houses, you know, and going in, and then it ended up just being my
Your
house. Yeah.
Right. Totally.
And honestly too, it was, and at that time I did I was at my house. I was doing all that. By this time, I'm full on in it with everything. And I remember I looked at my camera and I see my friend's El Camino pull up, and I was like, "Oh, right, Shorty's here." And I like opened my garage door, and as I opened it, it was just all cops just coming in, guns drawn. Get on the ground, get on the ground. And I was like,
did he see them as
they had his car? They got his.
No
they
way.
They knew.
To trick you on purpose?
to trick you on. So we take it, but to get you by surprise, right?
That was actually kind of smart.
It was very smart of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What happened to your friend? He got busted and they took his car.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of times they would park down the street from my house, or and just catch people, and so it was only just a matter of time that.
Were you affiliated at all?
Prison white power gang member, Peggerwood gang member, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Because
that's another reason why they'd be watching me, and then crime and all that stuff, and then association with people, all the people I associated with,
right?
And and even though I have no tattoos, I have but association, but the pictures they had me with, the people they had pictures of me with was all bad, and then once they hit your house and they find the stuff they find of the flags and the Swazis and all that stuff, just really puts you in that spot.
Did you get gang enhancements with your
I got gang enhancements.
sentences?
I got guilty by association because of pictures I had with certain people, and then a lot of the for the manufacturing and stuff like that. A friend of mine, it was at my house, and the vehicle had all this. We did a batch and we cooked it, and I left. I was gone for 2 days, just dropping stuff off, and I came back, and my partner was supposed to get rid of all this stuff, and by this time he's stuck in my garage, not looking at my cameras, and with some other people. I had a house, everybody was at my house. I was never there. I was always sketched out. I would literally sit out in the middle of the desert away from my house and just watch my own house, because I'd be like, I'm gonna get raided. I'd be so paranoid. I buried everything out there in the desert, and so they got me for intent to manufacture, arsenal of weapons, sales, and they got me for a chop shop. I had a lot of stolen cars and motorcycles, a lot, not and stupid
stupid stuff.
Stupid. I took the cab of a truck, put it inside my shop, a stolen truck cab. I was like, this thing's cool. I'm gonna put it here so I can get high in it, and
the most tweakery
stupidest
shit
things ever. I'm putting stolen cars. I would steal cars and strip them down and then put the shell on my truck and then take it 2 miles away from my house and dump it. And stupid stuff,
Dude, we had this, the stuff that you come across when you're a tweaker is unreal. We had this is another story I've never told on the show. It makes ID cards, a machine that makes ID cards.
A reader writer, yeah.
And we got it in our heads. I mean, somebody told us that it had been involved somehow in a murder in Oceanside. And how a reader was involved in this murder, I don't know, but it was something you definitely weren't supposed to have as a civilian, right? You could make credit cards with it. You could make IDs. You're not supposed to have it, I don't think. And we were afraid to even plug it in. And this is just so tweakery, because it was valuable. We had some credit card numbers that we wanted to use, but someone was like, no, bro, if you plug that in, the Wi-Fi signal is going to go to the FBI and they're going to show up. And I remember thinking, that sounds real. You know what I mean?
I'll believe that. I'm going to plug it in at your house.
And so it would just be sitting on the table at our house at that tweaker pad. And I'd be like, man, there's $1 million in there. But we couldn't ever, we didn't even want to plug it in. We had these 2 stand-up speakers. The old school speakers from the 80s?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my ex found some in a dumpster. They were broken. He brought them home.
We love fixing those things.
So this is very tweakery, okay? Maybe his plan was to fix them. I don't know. But we got the tortoises. He stole the turtles. So we come to the house with the turtles, and he's like, I know what I'll do. So he puts the speakers on the ground, pulls out all the insides, and cuts off the bottom of one and the top of another, nails them together, cuts little windows in the sides so they can look out. And we fill it with like sand, and they need all this special shit. And then we also had a dolly cart from a restaurant, of course, and it was magnetic. And so we put on the sides, well, it was metal, so it was magnetic. So we put the speakers on top with the turtles in so they could look out. And then he stuck a bunch of the magnets from inside the speaker. He stuck them along the side of the dolly and put his tools on the magnets so he could tweak out on shit and grab a screwdriver and then put it back on the magnet. And I'd just be sitting there like, that's my man. That's my man. He's a mechanical genius. Just the most tweakery shit ever. And the turtles ate like rose petals and hyacinth petals, and they needed a little bit of sun every day. And so I would put them in a basket, hold them over my head, and walk around Oceanside in like a wife beater weighing 100 pounds, walking my turtles. And I know, and all like the Hispanic people that lived in the neighborhood were like,
don't mess with her.
That crazy güera with her fucking turtles, man. Her tortugas. They'd be like, oh, I'm here. And I'm like, hey, with my turtles. Anyways, the tweaker stuff just reminded me of that. Yeah. What was like the weirdest tweakery item that you had and converted, if you can remember, or one of?
Converted?
Or like that cab is right up there.
And we found this, we're smoking, we used to smoke a lot, and we found this like 8-foot, you know the fluorescent light bulbs? Yeah. Like this one was like 8 foot, and we cleaned it all out. And and I can't remember the name, but we'd be like, and so what we did is we thought we'd get higher if we blew our smoke in it. And then, or like people would come, people always wanted to smoke. And so what we do is I fill it full of smoke and then I pass it to another person. And so it was just like this big old,
long pipe.
It's huge. So like you could sit over there and then you can hit it. It was like an extension, right? And so like, and then you fill it and then you hit it and then you hit it, you know.
Like a quag, but weird.
And not only that, but you know what was really crazy is like when you're feeding like and you have nothing to smoke, like, you'd scrape it. I put water on it and shoot it, right? Yeah. So you got this big old extension, like it's a light tube, and
that makes sense.
I did for the craziest stuff. Like I was like I really was like a junkyard dog. Like I would get on my own. I go off on my own, like just like getting away from people. Like I just wanted to be left alone. Like I'd be on a sick one, and people. I go to jail when I'm on a sick one. Like I have this hat on, and people be like, "Oh man, Garrett, man, what are you doing with that blue hat, dude?" What? It's like a blue like OG gangster hat, like Fidel a hat, like a fedora.
Fedora?
Yeah, and I wear it. I would wear it, and I would have like and I pipe in my ear, and I'd be driving a stolen car, and I'd be like, in my favorite place to go. I go to the junkyard. And I would go there during the day and just pay $1 to go inside there and literally go in there and look for change in all the ashtrays and under the mats and pulling the carpet up. I get all the WD-40 and the carburetor cleaners and oils, and I have all this stuff, and I go in with my toolbox empty too, and then I walk out with all this stuff in it. And then but the best part was I get on a sick one and I go back that night. Like my friend would be like, "Oh, I need a transmission." I know right where one is. I'd be like, "Dude, if you drop me off,
I know exactly
I'll
where
get
one
it."
is.
And they would drop me off at the junkyard. I would jump the fence. And this is a crazy part, man. Like I don't know how big I was, but like they would drop me off. Like I would go in there and pull a transmission out of a car, and the walls like 10 to 12 foot. I don't even know, 14. It was like 4 cars. They had like the cars were piled up, and I sit there on the highest level of the car, like the highest point in the junkyard, like in the middle with all the cars piled up. And I go up in there and I'd be getting high, looking all around, everything going around, and then I call my friend and I'd be like, "Pick me up, I got your transmission." And I would have a transmission on my shoulder, right, with like a tool bag on my like going around like a backpack, and then the converter would still be in, the transmission fluid would just be doused in my body, and I would climb up between the walls and the car using the bumpers, like and the wall, and like my friend I watch his lights be coming down, and he'd be like, and him and like some other people be pulling up in a car, and I literally would jump over the gate, like all of a sudden like come out, like jump over, like not like slide, like jump with the transmission. I'm holding it covered like red because all the transmission fluid leaking everywhere, and I land, and everybody just be looking at him like, what the,
I'm
like, dude,
you're like Tweaker Rambo.
yeah, and
Like with your
I
war
put it,
paint and
dude, and I put it in the back of the truck, and I get it, and I'd be like, go, and then everybody, and then I show up, and everybody looking at me like, what the hell, like, dude, what are you doing, you know? And I just be like, are we going to put it in your car tonight, or not, you know?
Let's get this.
I loved, man, and you know, because I just love cars and racing cars and all that stuff. So like I used to, for some reason, I used to, you know, there's other reasons why, but I used to just love. I mean, I would get a car, I would steal a car just to take it apart. You know, I would just sit there and just cut it up. You know, when the recycling got really, I mean, the further along I went with my disease, like you know, my disease progressed. Yeah. So it wasn't like, you know, and I'm doing a prison term, I'm getting out, and like I'm chasing that old lifestyle. But what happens is that I just keep on chasing that. What it is that every time I get out, like I go inside jail, I be clean and sober. I you know, like I'm good. I work out. I eat healthy. I come out. I'm big and I'm healthy. And then I immediately get loaded. I snort it. I smoke it. I'm smoking everything, and it just progresses. And it's I'm out. I'm in and out for the next 15 years. Yeah. I stayed out for like 6 months. Is my longest time I ever stayed out. And my disease progressed. And my disease also too. Like I was like, I'll never put a needle in my arm. A needle. I'll never do that. Like my best friend does heroin, you know, like, and so, but I get out, all of a sudden I get out later on, 10, 12, you know, 13 years later, I'm in and out, and you know, my disease takes me, like, it's just me. I'm not talking to my family. Yeah. I have my daughter. I'm not talking to my daughter, you know.
Well, I wanted to ask you this. So I have a few questions in the middle of this. So you never started doing heroin?
Until later. I'm going to tell you, like, I since I scored it, you know, my best friend did it, and I get it for him, and like I do the tar heroin, right? Okay. I didn't do it in jail, but I did it a few times. Like I dabbled with it. But
you weren't
little.
Like a junkie. You were a
not
meth
yet.
addict.
It wasn't until later on.
Okay.
That was.
When do you have your daughter? How old are you? So how old are you right now?
I'm 43 now.
Okay.
And I have my daughter at the age of like 20. I must have been 23 or something like that, right after my first term in prison.
So first of all, I thought you were in your 30s.
Nice.
You look much younger.
Oh, thank you.
For real. So how did you find out? Did you have like a girlfriend? How did you find out you were going to have a kid? Were you part of that?
I'm fresh out of prison. I'm selling drugs. This is how I met my daughter's mom. Her best friend is selling drugs for me. I'm in the back room while they sell drugs. I sit at your house. You sell drugs for me. I sit there playing Doom on the computer. You know, like. And just stuck like Doom that came out. I just be stuck, and you'd be coming in like, I need a teener, I need a quarter ounce, I need whatever, you know, and then all of a sudden this girl comes in my room. I'm hiding, like I'm supposed to be hiding, you know, I am hiding, right? And and she's like, who are you? And I'm like, who are you? You know? And she's like, well, where's Lisa at? And I'm like, I don't know, like, oh. I'm like, she's somewhere around, but anyway, so later on that night, like I get really sick, and I'm collecting my money, and Lisa's like, hey, I need to re-up, and I'm like, I'm at my house, and I'm I'm really sick right now, and
like actually sick.
I'm
or
actually really,
sick?
I'm sick. I'm both.
Okay.
I'm malnutrition.
Right,
I haven't eaten. You know. I don't know if I'm sick or if I'm sick. Right, you know, but I'm sick.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that my friend Nicole wants to, you know, I'm gonna have her bring over the stuff for you and give you the money, and you just give it to her. And it was that same girl. And then she never left. Like she stalked my house. She did everything. But you know, I moved to a different location. She moved in with me, and she got pregnant. You know, and did you have an opinion on that? Were you like, I want to have a kid, or were you I did. I wasn't. It was like, cool, we're having a kid. Okay. I didn't think nothing of it. Okay. I didn't think nothing of it. You know, It was like, was I ready? No. But at this time, I was.
Did you think though, like I could do this? Maybe I could turn it around.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I thought that maybe this is, first of all, the way I was living at that time. I didn't see that's the way I was growing. I thought that was normal. Okay. It wasn't like I didn't. You know, I'm maybe working a job during the day, and I sell drugs at night, which is like another job. I got a place, so I get this phenomenal house, view of the city. Right. Everything I get from my, like, brand new, she wouldn't, nothing, I couldn't bring home nothing used, you know, like, oh, you're having a baby, here's a bassinet. And be like, get that shit, get out of here.
She would say that.
Yeah. She'd be like, you ain't getting none of that shit. Bring none of that shit. You're at some other girl's house. She gave you that. No, you know? And so everything brand new. My mom's in that house. It's this. The thing is that I was out there. I'm living this double life. You know, I'm never there to enjoy nothing like that. I was there when she called me talking about my water broke. I pick her up. I take her to the hospital. I looked at her. You know, I'm full on in the disease, and I'm just like, man. First of all, she goes in. They do like to dilate her or whatever.
Yeah.
I was one of those people that as soon as I sat down, like I'm out. Choose not to sit down. You know, I just stand up. I'd be one pacing like this in your doorway, you know, like moving around. I stay in my car, sell everything on my car. I go in the hospital to see if she's dilated. They tell her to walk some laps around to do it. And I'm completely out inside that room, in that room. And then like I wake up like scaring myself, like, whoa, what happened? You know, you just slept. You know?
Was she using too?
She wasn't using that this time.
Oh, okay.
She's been like.
So the baby was born clean.
Baby was born clean.
Okay.
I looked her in the eyes and I said, "Man, I need to go downstairs and I'm gonna go downstairs and smoke a cigarette." You know?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Right now? Yeah, I'll be. I promise. I promise you, I'll be right back." And I went downstairs and with every good intention too. But with every good intention, I went down the street and got loaded, and I didn't make it back for like 3 days. And by the time she made it back, and then by the time the kid made it to the house I was never at, all that stuff I set up, that there was no love and no support at that home. And I showed up one day and she was like, I moved in with my parents, and all that stuff went to waste. And then one day I'm at my day job and all this stuff, and and my mom gives me a call. My mom's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that Nicole, left your daughter here with us." And then and she had a doctor's appointment. And I was like, oh, she didn't have a doctor's appointment, And then she went out there. It was her turn. She was, she was out there. She went. I saw her, and then shortly after,
you would see her while you were out ripping and running.
I mean, ripping and running. We ripping and running like we.
You would just run into each other.
We run in. I just knew where to, I knew where to find her, and so I see her, and it was just her turn out there. She, she had the baby. She was all that stuff, and she wanted to, we were both addicted to that lifestyle.
How long did your daughter stay with your parents?
My daughter stayed between both our parents until she was 9 years. I mean, pretty much until she was 9 years old.
How old is she now?
She's 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get into that later.
Right,
Absolutely.
So you're doing terms.
Yeah.
What's your longest term?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
3 years with 80, yeah.
Okay. So you get out. Do you have any strikes?
2 strikes.
You have 2 strikes right now as you sit here?
I'm good now, but
Be careful. You got 11 years now, obviously, clean. But okay. So 2 strikes, you're in and out, not staying sober for very long when you're out. Do you want to get clean during this time? Do you think I'm not living right?
I always, deep down inside me, think that I always wanted to, deep down inside of me, like, you're done way before you're done. For me, I was done. Like, I was done with that whole lifestyle, living that way, being in jail, like this vicious cycle that, like, I was done with that way before I was done. Yeah. But before I made that decision, a lot of it, I was doing it. Oh, I wanted to be a dad, or I wanted my parents, or like I needed it for this. I do it for all that stuff, but I would pick up,
Did you get introduced to recovery in prison?
I did.
You go to meetings?
I was in Tehachapi State Prison on the 4-yard. There's this guy named Billy, and I remember I come out of my work exchange onto the yard, and he was like, "Man, we're gonna go." And out there, the weather's crazy, so it was like it's like hail one way, rain the other, it's snow on the ground, it's freezing. You got layers of clothes on.
Okay.
What's
the one in the desert?
Calapat, Ironwood, Calapat, all that stuff where it's just scorching 100, and I've been to there, and it's 120 degrees out,
There's one where, so like a bunch of dudes that I knew at my rehab were all, they'd like paroled from all these places. One of them, it's so hot.
The lizards on sticks.
Yeah, the lizards on sticks. Oh my God, I've never met anybody else who knew the lizards on sticks.
100%. We used to
tell my audience about the lizards on sticks.
Oh, the lizards on sticks.
I couldn't even believe this was real.
When you get to places that are hot like that, it seems like everybody, like we were fighting like praying mantises together, spiders together. You fight lizards together, and it's so hot out there. The lizards carry a stick in their mouth.
And they pull their feet up.
And they stand on the stick. They go and stand on the stick.
Yeah, the little lizard will run and then hop up on it.
Yeah.
And don't you guys keep them as pets?
Yeah. They have not everybody, but
my friend Kenny had one.
They fight them. They
make them fight each
anything
other?
you can bet on when you're inside jail, like let's bet on it. Oh, you got praying mantises? Like mine will beat yours. All right, case of soups, right? Everybody's over there watching it, and like, oh, you got spiders? I got a black widow against your, against your
brown recluse.
Brown recluse, exactly. Or they have tarantulas, like so. There's big spiders, like that's black widow, or scorpion fights. Oh, and ironwood, it was like scorpion fights,
crazy.
and oh god, scary.
That's so crazy.
And we fight all those little animal things. I never had a pet.
Okay.
I didn't have no pets. I wasn't one. I was like, no, dude, I don't. Yeah. I can't take care of that thing.
I was in, yeah, exactly. I can't even take care of myself. I was in jail once and I had a rubber band on my wrist. And I'd had it for so long that like, a bunch of hair will get stuck on it. And it was like full of hair and it was so gross, but I only had one, And I remember one of the girls in there was like, she was like saying that was my pet, like in jail. And I was like, okay, pretend it's my pet. I'm not going to get rid of it. So long ass prison terms. Yeah. When is your last term?
My last term is in 2000. I want to say my last prison term was probably paroled in 2012. By this time, I have a lot of prison priors built up. I'm
and 2 strikes.
I'm a 2-striker. I'm on as high control. So anything, it seemed like I get out and I go back to this old life, and I immediately would get picked right back up because of my history. Yeah. I get picked up in a stolen car in 2011 or 2011, and I get out 2012. I get out, maybe it was like 2010, I get out 2012. And this last prison term I did, I finally made it down to the minimum yard. Okay. And that was like my dream. I still can't get no gate passes or nothing like that. I'm still got high, like they put me on like a closed like 19 or something like that. But what I did is I start bringing drugs and tobacco inside the prison system. And I start selling the same way I was living out there on the streets. And now I'm bringing it into the prison systems and I'm selling it there. And then I remember I'm bringing, meth and all this stuff in there. And, and by this time I started messing around with heroin a little bit more, and I meet I'm bringing drugs in and I'm bringing rigs in, binkies, shaved down binkies, and I met this guy and I'm watching him take a hit of this pipe, and I watch his eyes like roll back in his head, and I watch the pipe just like roll right off his thumb and break on the ground. I was like, damn.
Full of meth?
Full meth in prison. And like, that's a $1,500 hit you just took, and,
how did meth make him pass out, or he just got really loaded first?
He just took that hit and that ease and comfort that comes from that first drink, hit or fix, it hit him, and I was just like watching it. I just watched it all go down, like he was, and it just rolled. It wasn't like he meant to do it, and you just watch it, and it dropped, and it's just like, oh no,
that sucks.
And he's like, I'll fix it, and then I brought in the drugs and all that stuff, and I went over to my partner and I got one of those things, and I said, shoot me up.
Oh, you had not used a needle before.
Up to this point, I have not.
The pipe broke, so you have to use a rig.
And I used a rig. I didn't have to. I didn't have. I could have. We could have, as ingenuity.
We feel like we have to.
I was like, you know what? I'll only do it in prison. Right. Okay. I'm only going. This is going to stay here. Okay. This isn't going to go out. Is what that's my thinking. Yeah. I put a needle on my arm. Yeah. And I floated away. I did my thing there. I parole, and I was like, oh, that was just like something that happened inside there. And I'm gonna tell you that I paroled. That must have been like 2011. I don't know the exact dates, but 2011. And the next thing I know that when I get out from this term, heroin's really big out there, and the people I get the drugs to sell with out on the streets, because I always had a connection where I could always get up on my feet. And so and I find out a lot of more people want heroin, and the next thing you know, I'm mixing heroin. This is the start. So now like when it goes faster, like bringing that, like I was just smoking it and doing all that stuff before, but now I'm mixing heroin and speed together, full pulls, and putting it inside my arm, and I'm just like it's
the only thing you want to do after that.
I'm gonna talk about like from. Do you think something like I completely went to here, and that's all I ever wanted to do? Yeah. And that's what I did. And I was trying to hide. I was trying to be in the closet about it. I didn't want you to think, know that that's what I did. But like, believe me, when you saw me, like I go in, like I literally would, there's times I remember I go into Del Taco because they're open 24 hours. And I order the tacos, go in the bathroom, I'd throw up. I walk back out to the car. I could not keep nothing in my pockets, and like I couldn't even take care of the I couldn't even take care of the paper bag that the tacos came in. Yeah. That's how bad I was, right? Like the bag couldn't, like for some reason, by the time I got to the car, the bag is just falling apart. The tacos, there's a trail of tacos behind me, and there's nothing, and I cannot find a pocket for nothing, and people are like, what is wrong with you? And I'm showing up to the house thinking, they're like, dude, there's no tacos in the bag. Like they're all rewrapped because they dropped them. I'm rewrapping them. I'm showing up to the house, and they're like, Garret, what is wrong with you? And I'm just like, man, I just need to go to sleep. Yeah. I just need to go to sleep, man.
Do you get strung out on heroin at that point to where you start getting sick?
I get sick. I get strung out. I get everything that comes with it. I'm getting this powder heroin. I'm selling it. And what I did is I just found somebody that did it the way I did. Yeah. And I'm hooking up and I'm just shooting gallery. I'm just shooting, and by this time, and for me, it just I go back into jail, and by then I do a violation in jail. I get out, and I go back in, I get out, good, and get out, parole, 30 days. I'm not checking in, I'm not doing this. Like I literally would go, like they're raiding every place I went to, like they're hitting, cops are hitting. Like I was so hungry the one day, like I rode this. I used to borrow this guy's motorcycle for drugs, and he'd be like, and so I rode his motorcycle to go eat me I had to go eat like a famous star meal, because I want to get higher, and I show back up to this house I stayed at, and it was like everybody was there, and they're like, what did you do? Like the cops and all this stuff, everybody's looking for you. And I was like, damn, I just went and ate a sandwich. Like I was starving, and a lot of times I don't know what I did. Yeah. I black out. Yeah. I go on a full on blackout in speedballing it. And I went to a treatment center prior to this. I went there. I got picked up one night. I went to a treatment center. I graduated. And then
how long was that?
I was like 5 months. I was in there.
And you stayed clean?
I stayed clean and sober, and like I got.
Did you do steps and go to meetings and get a sponsor?
I did everything they suggested, but like I didn't. No, I got a sponsor by name. I did everything that you weren't. I thought I was living the program, right? I went there, and I became like the head house mouse of the men's side. There was guys and girls. I was getting in trouble all the time because there was girls there, and like it was a whole lot better than prison. Yeah. And what it is, I learned like I learned that service work, and it wasn't like I learned how I worked in the kitchen. I'm like getting at the girls in detoxes, hiding cigarettes in their salads.
That's
for
awesome,
them, right? Yeah. Hey, hey,
I totally
detox comes first. Detox comes to the kitchen first, right? And I'd be like, in your salad, and then there's a salad.
Did you work at McAllister?
No,
okay.
No.
I went to McAllister, and it feels the exact same. And detox would go first.
And the detox would come first.
And I remember the detox counselor, I would be all dressed up for this exact situation. And they'd be like, and I remember the guy was like, Janine, ain't you got any detox clothes? Because I was wearing like knee-high wedge boots that I'd stolen from Walmart and like leggings, like trying to be super cute in detox for this exact moment so that I could get a cigarette from a guy just like you,
And they'd be smoking like in the fenced off cage on the other side over there.
Yeah.
You'd be sliding packages. And I would hide. I still talk to the people today. We joke about, I laugh about it all the time. But yeah, I hide the notes inside there. Their food, cigarettes, and their salads, and this tray right here, handing the tray to them, go third, they go third in line, go, and I 100%. I went to meetings. I heard messages. I met people in recovery. They planted a seed, and I guess I just was not done. And it was so much. I met some people, man. James McCullough, and I'm there. I'm there because I can't leave because I got warrants. I'm there by parole. I got warrants for my arrest, but since they got a hold on me. So after the parole gets done here, I got to turn myself in. And so like I can't.
So you had to go to prison after this period of rehab?
Well, I have to go to court. I don't know if I'm going to prison yet because I have 168 traffic tickets, and then all of a sudden catching up to me. They're like, "Hey, there's warrants out for your arrest," and I'm like, "What didn't I take care of? Doesn't the prison take care of all that stuff, right?"
The traffic shit.
Yeah, all this traffic. I put it in my my form 1411 or whatever it is, and 5 months, man. Cinco de Mayo was the last weekend there. I go to court like the following Monday. I leave that treatment facility. And I go there and I remember thinking, man, that maybe I won't get arrested. Maybe when I go to court, and everybody's pumping me up, man. I met the mayor. I did service work with the mayor. This girl, Monique, that ran a lot of service work there. Like she kept me really involved and helping, and like she was a great person to talk to. And then James McCullough, who, he was like a guy that opposites were not attracted. And I hated him, but I grew to love this guy, and they planted these seeds over and over again. And then I have all this paperwork, man. I'm doing good with parole, with the program. I got like recommendation letters from the mayor of Pomona, all this stuff. And I go to my court date that morning. I go in there, hey, Judge Garret McClendon to the, thing. And I'm like, hey, just like I'm in recovery and all this stuff. And he's like, man, Garret, you've been in my court, plenty of times. Guys like you don't change,
He said that?
Yeah, go ahead and reprimand him, right? So I get arrested. One more time I get the handcuffs on me, and I've never up to this point, never in my life been arrested. I never gone to court and got sober. First of all, this is the first time ever, like 5 months. It's probably the first time ever I had like 5 months, and I walk in there, and they arrested me, and they took me into the back to the holding tank before you go down to the transfer, and I'm sitting there, and I remember sitting there on that cement bed bunk, on the block, and a bench, and I'm sitting there, and like, man, I'm just like, and it was like tears of like, or I'm sitting there having conversations with God I don't understand at this time. Like I don't understand God at this time, but I'm sitting there like I really want. Like, I'm tired. Like, I'm so tired of just living this. I'm tired of going to jail. Yeah. I'm tired of going to booking. I'm tired of being arrested. Like, I'm tired of using. I'm tired of this lifestyle. I'm tired of all that stuff. And I walk in there, and I'll say I go in there, and I was somebody inside the system, and I go in there, and I do some time. I'm reading my AA book during the counts. I'm reading chapters. I'm going to the meetings they have in there, and they call me one night for release, and it ends up not being a release. It ends up being like work release. Oh. And I was like, I call that person all of us gangsters call when we get in trouble. I call my mom. Mom, I need your address. I'll stay in the RV on the property, whatever. And she does, and she gives it to me. And this is a sad thing, man. This is a sad thing with no defense against that first drink or fix. As soon as I left that place, knowing that I had to be at the sheriff's station the next day to do work, the first thing I did is I stuck a needle in my arm. The second thing I did is I showed up to that work release program that first day, and I'm high as a kite, dude. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm on a stolen motorcycle with a sock full of dope and syringes, and I show up there, and I do this work, and the second day I'm begging for mercy. Like, man, like, you cannot be late here. I'm begging the second day. I'm begging on the second day, man, please just let me, man, I'm the hardest. I don't care if you're the hardest worker. You have to be on time. The third day, man, it's 12 o'clock. I'm supposed to be there at 6 a.m. I'm showing up there begging. Garret, man, you got to call. I can't. I'm going to tell you that I'm out. Fourth day I'm out, man. If I can just get some sleep, this will all be fixed. Yeah. I go to this house to get some sleep, and the cops hit the house, right? Garret, you're here, pull me out, put me back at the cop car.
Because you're supposed to be, for one thing, not high, but also at the address you gave.
Yeah, right? For many reasons, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be, I don't have like nothing, but this is the thing is that I have a backpack that I'm living out of with the syringes in it with no orange caps on them. Oh. I'm sitting there, and the cops, and I'm really like, my intention was to go to sleep. They're looking for a friend of mine that stabbed somebody, and I was just I should have been at my house sleeping, but I couldn't sleep at my house. And I go there, and the cop reaches in my backpack, and he stabs himself with the needles that I had in there and I totally forgot about these syringes. Yeah. So then he comes out, and now I'm facing assault on an officer. I got my prison priors. I got 3 and 7 prison priors plus doubled up for the crime come out. So I'm now all of a sudden I'm facing 15.
Charge? If they prick
if they hit their I mean they did that's what they say.
All right.
Right? So they go in there and they're talking about now you got an assault on an officer because do you really know what was in your backpack? Like by this time, once you hit the back of a cop car, you're always ready to sleep. Right. And by this time, I'm like in the back of a cop car, like I can't wait to get to booking to get me a sandwich and a pillow. Right. I hope I can get 2 rolls so I can get one pillow and one blanket. Right. And they come out there, and the good cop comes out, and he's like, "Man, do you know what was in your bag?" I'm like, "Nah, nothing. Nothing was in my bag." Oh, my partner just stabbed himself. And you're like, what? And then, because you're off in a different land, you're like, when you're in that, and they come out. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it was one of my worst experiences ever going through all that. I did not get no assault. I didn't, strike me for anything like that, all my prison priors and all that stuff. And I went back to jail, and I got out I got out in 2012, December 28th of 2012. I continued in my disease. By this time, like I said, that heroin and the methamphetamine I didn't care about nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I 100% just had I was full on just putting a needle on I had track marks from my ankles up to my neck, all the way down my arms. I could still see the scars on my arms if I really look. I was comfortable living in the bushes or living wherever I could go to hide, to get high, by alone in some peace and serenity. Bushes, abandoned houses, sheds, the gas station bathrooms. And on Valentine's Day of 2013, I've been out for 45 days. I'm shot out, man, and I go into I'm trying to go to a house, because once again I'm looking for a place to go to sleep, and I'm out there in some activity on the streets. I'm getting shot at by this guy on the street, and like, to me, when I drink and use it just takes me to. I'm at this point now after many years that I just death, right? I want to die.
Yeah,
I want to die. I cannot stop. It doesn't matter what I try, what I do, what I've done, where I've been. Like I had done everything but the program as it was suggested. And I done everything. Like I listened to everybody thinking that, that you'll fix me, or this will fix me, or if I just had this, and none of it fixed me, man. And I'm sitting there, and as the bullets are flying at me, like I just wish I'd die.
Yeah.
I just wish I'd die. I'd be better off if I was just a dead person to my daughter, to my parents, to like everybody. I'd just be like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to disappear out of that cycle.
Yeah.
And later on that night, I once again get loaded with my mom. My mom drops me off at a liquor store, and I get a bottle, and I'm going to this house to put a needle on my arm again. An off-duty officer recognizes me and sees me walking from the liquor store to this house. I had like a hideout, I always had real sneaky, like, I don't want to tell nobody where I'm at. I'm at the most raging, dirtiest known house in the whole neighborhood, talking about it's my hideout,
Yeah.
It's my hideout. Yeah, nobody knows I'm there, right? And off-duty officer sees me, and I go there, and I'm pulling up rags. And what I'm doing, I'm seeking revenge, because I'm probably going to go out and murder the guy that I was in the confrontation with earlier. And is it odd or is it God? The cops break into the house. The cops come in the house. Every door, every window gets blown. They lay me on the ground one more time. I was arrested. I'm going into the jail. I'm not done. I'm drinking hand sanitizer with top ramen packs on it. Looking for a head rush. I'm eating Happy Cards, And I arrive at my second treatment center on March 17, 2013. I'm completely just drained of everything in my life. Like I'm 100% just like done. I'm done. Like it comes down to the point, like there was no thought. There was just nothing left of me. No bright idea, no plan, no nothing. Like I was completely done. I was completely willing at this point right now to like turn my will and my life over to the care of somebody else, because Garret does not know what he was doing. I do not know. I need somebody. Yeah. Like I need guidance. I don't have no guidance. I don't know what to do. Like I'm spiritually, emotionally, and physically broken, sitting there in a room with 15 other guys. We're all off the jail bus. All I got to my name is I got my blue jumpsuit, bright green boxers, flip flops, a indigent, bag full of some envelopes and stuff. I'm sitting there, man, and I got my head, I got my hands in my head, and I'm like, man, like where am I want to run, dude. I'm run like that. It's setting in. Like I can do better. Like I could do something else, and a friend of mine, this is it, man. It's never like something like someone says, or like, cause someone could say something and I'll forget it as soon as I turn around or as soon as I get home. But I'm gonna tell you that this guy that I known, man, it was somebody it could be somebody you don't know, but this guy I known, and I haven't seen him for a while, man. And he opens the door to this treatment center, and he's walking out on his gate and his pass. And he sees me, man. And I see the door, we sort of meet eye contact, and he's like, Garret. He's like, big bro, man. And he's like, so good to see you, And I'm in the fight, man. I'm in the fight right here. Like, do I stay or do I go? Yeah. And he walks up to me, man, and he gives me this big old warm welcoming hug. And he's like, I'm talking like not like a hug I'm talking like a hug. Like he tightens his arms around me and like sort of like pulls me into him, And he's like, so good to see you, big bro. He's like, man, he's like, I got 9 months.
Wow.
You know? And I sit back down because I got to look at him level, you know? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to go on my pass right now. And he's like, I really hope to see you when I'll be back for dinner. Like, if you're here for dinner, I'll be there and I'll see you. And I was like, man, and I'm gonna tell you this, for anybody, man, they're like, that's the magical part, man. It wasn't like that. I needed to run it. Like, I wanted to run. I wanted to go. Maybe I'm just there for relief. I'm not there for recovery. I'm not there for God and steps and all this stuff. I'm there because I need a place to sleep and I need a place to shower, and it's a whole lot better than being on the streets. Yeah. And I'm not, and like Levi, man, and he's like, man, I really hope you stay. And I'm gonna tell you, up to this point in my life, I never made a decision for myself. I would just go, you know what? I'll catch another term. I'll be out and I'll start again. Repeat, right? Yeah. It only mattered. I knew every time that I put a needle in my arm or took a hit, or I grabbed that 40 as soon as I got off out of prison, and I'm taking this bus. It's like I knew exactly. At that moment, like I sort of play that tape out. I knew I was going back. I walked into this office of this place, man, and I walked into this office, and this lady was like, man, she's like, do you want to go or do you want to stay? She's like, I won't call your officer for 24 hours, but I will call him. But if you want to go, you can go. Nobody's keeping you here. I don't want you to be here if you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, I'm going to stay. And for anybody, man, like that for me was like that. I finally made a decision for myself based, like that first step was done there, not with a sponsor or anybody else, but like honestly and thoroughly, that first step was done for me. Like looking at my life was unmanageable. And I knew for a fact that I'm powerless over that first drink, hit or fix, and I put it inside my system. And I walked in the office and I said, okay. And I'm going to tell you that my journey began right there. And like I said, I wasn't looking, maybe I came in looking for relief or looking for a place to sleep or looking for some meals or looking for a way of life that I didn't know existed. You always, like God always been present in my life. I've been in prison. Maybe my faith was very, 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 was that what they call that sesame seed of a seed that was planted in me, you know, and I went in there and it was this monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. I held out, and the people who did this, that were doing the deal, are the people that I hung on to. The people that had some experience and faith are the people that I sat with, and they told me about their experiences. It wasn't about like being on the yard and we're telling our stories again. It was actually that people being honest and thorough and telling me about, you know what? I had a daughter and I didn't talk to her, and she's back in my life. You know, that my dad, at this point, I haven't talked to my dad and my sisters for 20 years. Like, you know what? Those relationships get amended. And we're not promised. Not everybody, maybe not everybody, but probably 90% of the people who hear that, like put in that effort, man, like it wasn't like they abandoned me. Like I abandoned all that stuff. I gave up all that stuff to reserve my right to use and to do prison time and to be that person, you know, thinking I was doing good. I wasn't doing that. I was an animal out there. And most of all, I met this lady, Dolores Thomas. Dolores Thomas was like a 5 foot, and she was a black lady, and she was my counselor, and she was old, and she was the most OG person I ever met in my life, man. By this time, I'm like 285 pounds. I'm huge. I'm like as big as a door. I'm huge. I've done nothing but time my whole life and worked in kitchens, and I'm big, and she's tiny. And I go in there, and I'm used to taking advantage of people like that because I'm bigger. Yeah. And she'd be like, sit your white ass down. When you come in my office, don't come in here acting like that. She'd be like, this is my office, not your office. You can wait out that door just like everyone else of my clients. You are not special, all right? Because I used to think I was special. Yeah. And I come in her office because I really, after getting there and you got 1-2 weeks, you know, like I really like thought maybe, you know what? I made a wrong decision. Yeah. And disease be calling me. It'd be like, you know, I'd go in her office and I'd be like, I want to see my daughter. I think I need a pass, you know? Right. All right, honey. She'd be like, absolutely. And let's get a pass and fill it out for you. Okay. And then she's like, Thursdays are our meeting, and I'll take it in there and see if you get approval. All right. All right. What's your mom's name? All right. What's your mom's address? And I'd be like, damn, I don't know my mom's address. Do you know your mom's phone number? I'd be like, I don't think my mom has a phone. She'd be like, then honey, you ain't going to see your mom, and quit wasting my time, you know? And I'm going to tell you the greatest thing about Dolores Thomas, man, is that she planted a seed and she believed in me, and she was everything to me. I went there and just sat in her office and just bugged the crap out of her 24/7 because she had experience, and I loved listening to her experience, and she would just guide me in all this way, man. And then this time came up and she was like, man, and by this time I stayed in that treatment center for 17 months in rehab, sober living, whatever, everything split. I'm doing all the groups until I'm able to teach the groups. I'm the guy taking all the clients out to meetings. You know, I'm the big brother. I'm the little brother, or whatever. I'm doing all these events. I'm getting them in the service. I'm in it. Yeah. Like I'm in it, man. And Dolores, I go in her office, man, and she closes the door and she's like, look, man, we're going to make a deal right now. I'm like, yeah, I love deals. What's going on? Well, I'm going to forge this pass. I need you to go to LA and I need you to go speak. And I'm like, I don't speak.
At a meeting?
To advocate for families in criminal justice.
Okay.
And so and I was like, I'm like, all of a sudden you get really scared and really nervous, and all of it comes up. I'm throwing up on her with every excuse why I cannot. And she's like, look, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get this pass approved. You're going to take this day off of work. You're going to go on the bus to LA. You're going to show up here at this time and you're going to share your story. She's like, honey, I'm not asking you to share nothing else but your story. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. And she's like, okay. She does it, man. And I get there and I remember I smoked cigarettes at this time too. If you're in treatment and you don't smoke cigarettes, I mean, did you really use? But, right. But I'm sitting there and I ride the Metrolink over there and I'm in downtown LA. At this time, I'm staying out there in Whittier. And I remember I showed up to this place and there's all kinds of people, the people that I don't mix with, right? There's sheriffs, there's attorneys, there's people from the city, other people from the programs, and I'm scared and I'm trying to call Dolores and she's not answering and I'm like, I find who I need to find and I go in there and then for the very first time, it wasn't like sharing at my rehab or sharing at a meeting. I shared in front of all these people and I shared a story, man. I carried a message that carried depth and weight.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can do is be 100% honest in the message we carry, Yeah. And I was hooked, man. And for that, I'm forever grateful for her pushing me to do that. And I still talk to her every year. Dolores is one of my favorite counselors I ever had in my life because she changed my perception on everything. And she helped me she did that, to get back in my dad's life, my daughter's life, my mom's life, my, like everything, to start cleaning up the wreckage of my past when I was in treatment. I didn't talk to my dad or my sisters for 20 years. I didn't talk to that daughter for 9 years. I see my daughter. My mom, I'm in prison. I get pulled down to fight a case. My daughter's probably 5 or 6 years old, and somehow my mom gets her to I get a visit while I'm fighting this case in county jail. My mom brings my daughter to visit me. I remember walking out there and I see my daughter curled up and she's in this and they have the benches right there and the wall, visiting and this little window, and I see her little hand on the window and I put my hand on hers and hi Dad, and I talk to her. I'm like, hey, let me talk to my mom. And I'm like, Mom, how could you do this to me?
Yeah.
Right? And my mom said, and this is something I didn't understand, right? Because the person that's out there who's dying, who's killing himself on a daily, and my mom said, this little girl right here loves you no matter what. And I couldn't understand that because I don't love myself no matter what.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was pissed off at my mom. Yeah. How could you do this to me?
Bring her to
see me in my worst.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just want to let you know this little girl loves you no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. You can't understand that. You only understand with the level of what you understand with, right? Right. I didn't understand. I was out there shaming, degrading. I didn't care. I did whatever I had to do to put a drink, hidden fix in my system. I did not care as long as I was loaded. Yeah. I just wanted to stay here. Not here. I wanted to stay here. Yeah. And I didn't talk to my dad and my sisters, and even when I remember then the first time I met my dad, for the very first time, he came to that treatment center. And I met him and my stepmom for the very first time after 17 years. I seen him once or he picked me up from jail one time and then he asked me that question that, we're so prepared for.
What's going to be different this time?
What are you going to do with your life?
Oh, okay.
What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
And I tell him all the good stuff that I really wanted, probably detail. I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna get a career, make some money, all that good stuff. And he'd tell me well, can you be at the house for my birthday on Saturday? I promised them I'd be there, and I would not show up.
Right.
You know,
right.
My sisters, so that family, I was tired of being the disappointed, and it's one thing. It's like, this is a thing. Like, it's one thing to be like a disappointment. You know, it's one thing to give up. You know, like, people give up on me. People are disappointed in me, but it's another thing when like you're disappointed in yourself and you're giving up on yourself. Right. And I got to that point where I was just like, I was tired of upsetting and disappointing people. And I was just giving up. I was just giving up, slowly but surely, just giving up on everything. And it was slowly but surely, all that stuff was just restored back into me. I was in treatment for a while, and I loved every little bit, man. We all wore each other's clothes to go to the meetings. Like, I only got an hour day pass during the day, which I went to the gym and I come back, and then we went to a meeting at night. And this is the most important thing, is that after a while I got me a sponsor this time. And I went to a meeting, and this guy told my story, and he became my sponsor. And this man, to me, just it was nothing this man was ever said to me. It was everything this man, the kindness that this man showed me in every which way that he did. He'd come to that. We sit in chairs like this with the table right here, and there was a light, and he'd bring the book, and then they'd be like, "Your sponsor, McLendon, your sponsor's here." And I go out, and I don't remember a lot of people having sponsors that came there for him, and he'd be like, well, if you can't go out, then I'll come there and read the book with you. And he read this book with me every week.
The big book?
The big book. Okay.
So you went to AA?
No. Oh. I came in through NA.
NA, okay.
So we did the
basic
text,
okay.
And I did all the NA stuff. I did the NA meetings, and he introduced me to the fellowship and to the service work. And then he took me to my first convention. If you're new and you haven't been to a convention, please go. Please go to the big meeting, the Saturday night big talk meeting, banquet meeting. And I'm gonna tell you, the best thing about that is I sat there. Is this was the one in Ontario. I was at the one in Ontario. It was like the district one or the tour. It was humongous. But I remember this. I remember when they were like, "All right, we're gonna get up and pray," and there must have been like 1,000 people
at the convention. You're talking about.
The convention, praying out 3 to 4 deep in this big old circle, and everybody doing that prayer arm to arm, and like I peeked, man. Like I looked up to look at everybody around, all the banners in the air, and it was just like so breathtaking,
So you never used again. March 17th, that's your
March 17, 2013, man. I made that decision when I walked in that office. That is my date. I don't count no jail time. I don't talk about. I wasn't trying to figure out, like when my counselor Dolores was talking about, like, you have to figure out your sobriety date. I know from the day that I made a decision that I made a decision on March 17th. From that day to now, I don't put I'm scared to take allergy medicine, but I have to take allergy medicine. But boy, and like, it's a work just for me to take some aspirin. Like, like, oh my God, like, I just take some aspirin. Like I won't get addicted to it, right? Yeah.
So that's incredible. I can't believe that was the last time that you ever, so you had a little bit of technically clean time before that day, it sounds like, but you don't count that, right? It starts that day. What were some of the things that Dolores said to you, if you can remember, that really changed your outlook and your perspective?
She'd be like, I go in there, and she just said, honey, she'd just be like, man, she'd be like, honey, this is your plate. And she'd be like, you got too much shit on your plate right now to put more shit on it. She's like, why don't you just work on the stuff that's on your plate? Because every time you come in here, you're just trying to add more stuff to it. And what she was just saying is like, be more simple.
Yeah.
Be more realistic.
What would she consider on your plate at that time? Just your program at the rehab?
No, she just, I wanted, because I was in everywhere but now.
Right.
Yeah. This is the thing, is I was still trying. I wanted to go out and see my family. I wanted to go out and get a job. I wanted, like, damn, if I can get a girlfriend, like I want a driver's license. I want to go back to school. I want to do this. I want to go play baseball on Saturdays. Like I want to go to the gym. She's like, honey, all that will come.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Like, I want that relationship. I want that relationship with my daughter. I want all this stuff, man. And what she was saying is like, man, honey, what you need to do is just the work here in the program first. And then all that stuff will come,
So you were there for 17 months?
17 months.
Okay. How old were you when you got?
33.
33. Okay. So what did you do Like how did you get your driver's license? What was the first job that you got?
My first job, I went through a temp agency, and I got me a job, a factory, making like $4 an hour, and I was happy as hell. And my first vehicle was, I got me a beach cruiser from one of the counselors I bought my first bicycle from the counselor at the place I was at. And I rode that bike to work, and I rode that bike to meetings, and I rode that bike I had to to clean up the records of my past. I had 168 traffic tickets. I had, I think 5 DUIs. I wrecked probably a total of 15 cars in the car accidents.
How much money did you owe the DMV?
A lot. A lot. And so it took a good 5 years to pay it off.
Okay.
And I had to do Caltrans. I had to do community service. I had to do a DUI school. And not only that one time I swallowed a whole bunch of methamphetamine, and a bag popped open in my mouth, and the cops wrote me up from like being like mentally retarded or something. So I don't know. I must have been really out of it that day. But when I went to clean up the records of my past, and I was trying to get my license, and I really thought, this is the funny part, is I'm with my sponsor. I'm like, I really think I'm gonna get my driver's license, because my delusional thinking was like, man, I should be able to get my license. And I go to the DMV, I fill out the paperwork, I wait in line, and I go, hey, McClendon, number 27. I go up there to the counter, and I'm like, yeah, here to get my driver's license. And she's like, can you go to Windows 7, please? And I, yeah, absolutely. I'll go to Windows 7. Don't think nothing of it. The DMV, manager comes up to me, and they're like, are you seriously trying to get your license today? Yes, I am. Do you know, you have to do like A, B, C, D, and E before you can be like, what is that I have to do, man? You have to, first of all, you have to go to a doctor and get cleared first.
Because they had actually said you were like disabled.
You're disabled. Like, okay. It says like something's wrong with you. Second of all, it says that you have to do DUI classes, right? And third, it looks like you have a county hold. I don't know, maybe you have to do some community service, and you got like another county hold right here. And yeah, if you can, once you complete all this stuff, then you can, and then you have to get a breathalyzer on the vehicle you get. And so it was a process. I didn't get I didn't get a car until my first 4 years. I didn't get a license until 4 years later. What I was really grateful about when I was in that treatment center is that I was able to do all that community service I needed to do on the weekends.
Yeah.
And the Caltrans work I had to do. I was able to ride that bike to my DUI classes, and then I was working at that job, and I saved some money, and stuff stuff. And what happened is like one foot instead of the other, this work's getting done, and I'm saving up my money, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy myself a gift. I'm gonna buy a car, so when I get my license, I got it. When I leave this place, trying to make like a exit plan. I thought I was going to stay out there in that area. I didn't think the plan that happened, I didn't think was going to happen. And so like I'm searching, I find it, man. And I'm such an idiot. I went on Craigslist, and I found this ad like, oh, here's this truck. I'm like, this is a truck I want, and I get a hold of this person, and they're like, yeah, my husband died, and I got his truck, but I work at the base, and I don't need it. So I'm selling it for this price. And I'm like, I'll buy it. I do. I go into my counselor's office, or, I go into the money side of it. And I'm like, oh, I need to get a money order for like all the money I saved.
Right.
All the money I saved. And I send this Western Union money order to get this truck. And it was all the money I ever had in the world.
And it was a scam? Oh, no.
And I was like, but the thing is I didn't believe it was a scam. And I was like, oh, I'm going to send them more money. They're like, well, now if you send us more money, we'll deliver the truck to you.
Oh, no.
All right. My friends are like, don't do it, dude. That's a scam.
Oh, no.
And I got scammed. And so, so I didn't have a vehicle when getting my chips, like for the people who think that getting chips are not important, for the person who never really received or accomplished nothing in his life, like the 30, 60, 90, 9 months, all that stuff. And even if in 18 months, like all that stuff meant something, because I was one of those ones that never finished. I started but never finished, and I never really accomplished nothing. So those milestones of getting those chips for me was like really huge. And and then getting that point, like I accomplished, like I finished that DUI class. school, you know, and that was a big, you can't be late. You're on time. Like, everything was good. Like, and I'm doing, like, I had like so many, I thought I was an employee of the city. I had so many, literally, like, I was there I did it for so long, and every opportunity I could get, they loved me. They were just like, hey, you can ride with me up there. They buy me lunch. They take me I'd be just driving around in the truck with that all by myself. They would just take me with them we're going to go drive on the freeway, the 605 freeway here, you know, and then we'll go get lunch at some place, you know, and it's good. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to get all that stuff done while I was there, you know?
So let me ask you this though, because I was in that situation too, right? It was a long time before I had a car again. And I'm taking the bus and I'm taking the Sprinter, and like I thought I could buy a car one day. I had $1,000 saved, and it took me 7 months to save $1,000 because like I'm in sober living and everything. And like $1,000.
Did they take your money in sober living? We turned in our checks. They gave us like $20 a week.
No, I got it.
Nice.
I got it. But I had to pay them rent. It wasn't a treatment associated sober living. It was like it was independent, and I had gone there like back and forth over the years and stuff. So like they let me stay on the couch for $300 at first, and then eventually I moved into a room and whatever. But I had $1,000, and I thought I could get a car for this, right? Maybe. And I go to this like tow yard to buy an impounded car. And I was nowhere near getting a car for $1,000. You know what I mean? And I was so tired of that grind and like not having a car. And I remember being so disappointed. Like when you found out that was a scam, or when you went to the DMV and you found out you had to do all that stuff, you must have felt did you feel
discouraged?
Yeah.
I felt sad. I was angry. I called my sponsor as soon as I left the DMV.
Okay.
I called my sponsor, and I was just like whining and crying and all that stuff. And he broke it down for me really, just like Dolores used to break it down for me. He's like, well, if you really want your license, I do. He's like, why don't you pick the one thing that you can do at this moment that's on that list and start with that?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll start with the DUI classes, right? I got some money. I can go. I can afford it, right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And he just started, like we get like this list of, we think we have to do all this stuff at once.
Yeah.
And the main thing is that you just said it's one day at a time.
Totally.
It's one problem at a time.
Totally.
It's one That's one solution at a time. We're not solving 20 things at once. And that's the slow thing. I get a bundle of stuff, and I used to, and the addict behavior, like I want to do all of it, like that day done, and be done with it, man. He was like, just pick one of those things and do it.
You called your sponsor.
I called my sponsor.
That's what I did differently this time too. If I was really bummed, I would call Rachel. I've had the same sponsor for 10 years. I would call her. And even through sobriety, because now I don't crave dope anymore, right? I rarely run into a problem. But like I owned a gym during the pandemic in California. And every day somebody was trying to shut me down, and I would feel so discouraged, and I would call her through sobriety. You know what I mean? Like that was still always a tool that I had, and you called him, and that got you through it. To this day. And I'm going to tell the people, like, you have your sponsor, like my sponsor, like he doesn't have all the answers. And the thing is I'm connected into the recovery and the program and the people around. And like they said, like if you go to enough meetings, and one day is one of those problems that the people are discussing could be your problem, and you're going to be thankful that you got this guy's number, you know, and so I met people that just walked me through the stuff, and my sponsor, man, like to him it was no big deal, man. Just do one thing, that's it. Do you still have the same sponsor to this day? I'm on my third. That sponsor that I met in treatment, I still in contact. I still do a lot. I did all the 12 steps with them, and I continue to take people to that book and everything in a way. And I moved out from the treatment center. I moved to Santa Clarita, and that was another thing that I did. Like the first thing I did is I had to make an exit plan. I left. I had a clear crate full of all my Zooms and Wham Whams, and another bag full of all my clothes I bought from DD's Discounts, and
and my oral hygiene, and I made this exit plan, and I went and I rented this room it was probably like almost 3 weeks before I moved in. I went and paid ahead of time because I did everything right.
Yeah.
I did everything as they suggested.
Yeah.
That's it, man. They suggest, if you move out, we suggest that you make an exit plan. We suggest that you know where the meeting hall is, where you live, make sure you're and how you're gonna get to that meeting when you move out to this place. Where's that meeting at? And you should go to that meeting first before you go see your family and your friends and all that stuff. And that's just the basic stuff that I did. I walked. I made sure that I was close enough to my home group, which is the Rafters, and I walk to this meeting. I get off. I go home. And I went to a meeting every single night, man. I just went to the meeting. I got me in a commitment at those meetings. I sat down. The first night I went there, I went to this old timers meeting. 10 years plus, and all this sitting, and I'm sitting there, and this guy, and the big guys recognize big guys, and this big guy was walking through, and I was like, look at this big old dummy, we just big guys just look at big guys, and we just judge them, we're just I don't recognize short guys, but when a big guy walks in, I'm like, damn, that guy must be 6'6", I got him beat, you just fucking judge him. He's a different body type, but he fucking circled me like a hawk. And this time I had over a year, and I was very proud of that, man. If you have any amount of time that anybody has, I'm 100% proud of that. That you should be 100% 30, 60, 90 days, years. If you're in it, that proud, man. And
Take the chips, like you said. I'm really proud of my chips.
I still got that.
Me too. They hang on the wall.
I got that chain. I got that one complete set of my. I
never thought I would have the whole set.
I have it hanging, and I look at it just to remind me. That was my first. When you think that nothing can ever be done in your life, man, you look at those chips, man, and it gives you motive. I can do it, man. It's the start. You can do it. It's sometimes it's not as you want planned, man, but you can do it. And I'm
totally a chip nerd too. And HA does every year too.
Oh, nice.
So I have through 9 years on it. It doesn't stop at the NA multiple years.
Yeah.
We keep going all the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so you go to the meeting, you see the big guy.
And he sits down next to me, and he asks me that question that everybody wants. He's like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, Garret. He's like, are you new? I was like, no, I got a year. A year, huh? Yeah, very proud of that. He's like, this is an old timers meeting, right? You can't share or nothing like that because you don't have 10. I was like, that's fine. I'm just here to listen. And but he gave me his card, and I did my check around there, I had to make sure that he was all up and up. But I felt like when I got out from that place and I moved over there to be closer to my family and all that, and work and all that stuff, that I didn't want to have my sponsor in one city and me at the other.
No,
I didn't want that distance. I wanted that sense of accountability right there where I was at. And I met, and so what it did is I asked him to take me through the steps, and he took me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got to the point where once again, I did the 4-step and then do the all that way, then NA step working guide, which is great because it guides you.
Yeah.
And then I did it the AA, and I read this book with him, and he'd take me, and he picked me up, and he read the book. We read the book in his truck, and he'd take me to a meeting or something, and he'd just leave me, and I'd be like, and he'd be like, do you need me to come there and give you a ride home, or could you, meet somebody and have them give you a ride home? I always met somebody to give me a ride home.
You think he did that on purpose to make you meet people?
Absolutely, right. Okay. I honestly, I never really had a problem.
Rude.
I know,
but I guess that makes sense.
It makes sense. But I never really had a problem of not meeting. It was I knew somebody, or I was already a little connected in there, and so it wasn't that hard, and so he took me to the 12 steps, and I remember I got to a point I started doing, and I did it, and I went and did my 4th and 5th step. I went and took a partial 4th to the shop, and because I was overthinking all of it about everything to write on, and he's like, just put it on paper, man. Go sit over there, put it all down, and come in my office when you're all done. And I sat there. It was an 8. I was all day, and then I went and I did that magical 5th step, dude. And I did those prayers. We did those prayers on our knees together, and he took me through, man, and he guided me in my life. He supported me. He loved me. And then my first car, all of a sudden, boom, I discharged parole.
Yeah.
I came off high control.
Fuck.
I discharged parole. I don't need my discharge card. And that was a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
I completed all those classes. I completed all that. I'm down to the point where I'm ready to get a vehicle, and I'm ready to get the breathalyzer, and I'm ready to get insurance,
Insurance.
Isn't
that crazy when we actually get insurance?
I couldn't get insurance. My stuff was I was so bad out there. It was hard for me to, I was trying to get insurance. They're like, do we, I had SR22. Yeah. How much is that? Goddamn, my dad gave me this truck that he had, and I had my breathalyzer in it, and it was, and stuff. And
you did it, dude.
And I did it. And then
now you have a really nice truck out there. I saw it.
I do. I buy nothing but new ones. But and then my first vehicle, my first vehicle I ever bought is I bought this 1989 Chevy S10 Blazer, and I got my first car for $400. I don't know, $1,000 would have got me a nicer one, And for $400,
did somebody in the program give you a really good deal?
Someone in the program had this Blazer. And it was tagged and legal. And that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Tagged and legal.
But
I'm talking, look, they wrecked it into a telephone pole, and it still looked like it was wrecked into a telephone pole. And it still had a big old, but it ran, right? And none of the windows worked. The windshield wipers didn't work. The heater worked. There was no air. But I'm going to tell you, it started up. The gas gauge didn't work. Everything rattled on it. And I bought it for $400. And it was the first car I ever bought in my life. And I was so genuinely happy to have that.
Totally. And somebody from the program hooked you up, right?
Yeah.
Someone gave me my first car.
Nice.
Right after I couldn't buy one, and I was so devastated.
Nice.
2 months later, someone gave me an older car. They happened to be in the program, and I didn't know, and she didn't know. It was a client of mine at the gym. We didn't even know until months later. She just was programming people, give people cars. You know what I'm saying? They really kind of do. And all she did was ask that I pay it forward. And my husband and I gave someone a car 8 years later. We were able to do that too, But my point is
that's the greatest gift. I've done it a few times. I just love doing that.
Well,
pay it forward.
Yeah.
Many people I met throughout my recovery have done stuff to me that I can never.
Totally.
And they always just tell me, they're like, why? They're like, just one day you're going to be. I didn't believe at that time that I would ever be able to do something like pay it forward.
Right.
I'll never be able to pay it forward like that. And I'm going to tell you today, nowadays I look at all that stuff they meant, and now I'm the one telling people, man, just pay it forward one day. Don't worry about it. Just pay it forward.
When did you start working in your career now?
While I was in treatment. I met a guy, job to job. I met this guy, and he was there on the DUI, and we, best of buds, worked together, moved out together. I continued working for this company, and he was one of those ones, he couldn't make it, and I separated myself. So I left the company I was at, and I was I was very into recovery. I'm in it. There was no, I went to meetings, I did all this stuff, and I was growing and he wasn't, and he went out, and we had a falling out, and I left the company. I couldn't work with him no more. And I separated myself, and was on a new journey, and then he went out. The company, the boss of the company got a hold of me and brought me back.
Oh, good.
And
are you a carpenter, a laborer? What are you doing in construction?
I'm actually a foreman.
Oh, cool.
And in the recent times, I started a small business too as well, as a general repair and maintenance business. And then, and I got some hands tied. I got some stuff tied into in recovery too,
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. You were mentioning that.
And so, and the guy asked me this craziest thing. I was perfectly fine on just pushing a broom my whole life. And he was like, you want to push a broom forever? Yeah, I was good with it. Yeah. Fuck, if I get paid, you're paying me good money to push this broom right now. Take up trash. I've been picking up trash and sweeping them up in my whole life. And he just put me in a room to do things that,
I progressed.
And progressed, yeah.
So what's it like with your family now? Is everything good? Is your mom clean? How is she doing?
My mom and dad, my dad 8 years, my dad passed away.
Oh.
I met my dad and I became best of friends.
Okay.
I amended all those relationships. I was accountable. He got to see his son thrive. He got to see the things he always wanted to see. He got to see his daughter, his grandson, like all that stuff. Like I got a relationship. Like we went to the movies together. We hung out. We talked. Like all the things that you can ever want, and because I just showed up.
Yeah.
And during COVID he passed away, and it was hard. I mean, during COVID it sucked because you can't go in the hospitals. Or everything's shut down. And it was this very, very tragic thing that all of a sudden it was just boom. One day you wake up and he was gone, and it really brought the whole family dynamics of the family changed. He was a big anchor.
Okay.
And then with my mom, I didn't go see my mom until I was 3 years,
okay,
2.5, 3 years. Sometimes the ones that you love the most are the ones you got to stay away from.
Yeah.
And as much. And I saw my mom, I met her at the Metrolink one time and gave her a big hug, and then because I always ran to my mom. And then I'm at this sober dance one night with my trudging buddy, and they're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Because it's in my hometown, and I'm like, "Man, I really want to go see my mom." So what it is I was ashamed and I'm scared and about where my mom lives and what she does, and I'm sort of living this better life, and I'm ashamed of my old life type thing still,
Yeah.
And I tell him, I'm like, "Man, I want to go see my mom, but my mom lives in the wash." I don't want, it's, he's like, "Man, let's go. Let's go." I went down there and saw my mom, and and that relationship with my mom I helped my mom get out all that. My mom, I'm sure was in her disease, but anytime my mom was not in her disease, when I go visit her often.
Okay.
I visit her often. I pick her up, no matter how bad the situation is. That you can always go see him, but I could always pick her up and take her out of the situation she's in, to spend time with her and take her back, still my mom, and it's because I get clean and sober doesn't mean everybody around me does.
Right.
And you got to learn to love those people because we're sick people just like them.
Totally.
And I'm going to tell you, I was with my mom, and I got some time, 5 years, 6 years, I don't know. And my mom's getting another stent in her heart. And we're really not big talkers, we sort of just we talk, but not really big talkers. But my mom's getting the stent in her heart. We're at the hospital. And my son runs out the door and runs down the hallway, and I ran out and I scooped him up, and I turn around, and what I see my mom looking out the door of the hospital down the hallway at me, and this is it, man. It's my eyes and her eyes met for the very first time, in a long time. And it was just that look of content on her face, she knew her son was in a very good spot. Maybe all the worrying and all the stuff. I was in the paper many times. My mom, I used to I finally give my mom a call after months or weeks or years, and I get busted again, and I call her up and I just be like, I'm going back in.
Yeah.
Can you go get all this stuff from ABC? Can you go do this stuff for me? And you go pick up this money, to do this. Yeah. And then I just started being present in her life, man. And I loved every minute. I'm a mama's boy at heart, man. And like I said, my mom and I had the best relationship. And I'm gonna tell you, when she passed away, it was one thing when my dad passed away. It was hard, but I wasn't, even though I had a strong and sturdy relationship with my dad, my mom's the one I'd done everything with, and I was, me and some guys, I was surrounded by 20 guys on a motorcycle ride. And my sister calls me and she's like, Mom had a stroke. She's going to the hospital. By the time I get from point A to point B, I call back and she's like, they have to do an operation. There's a 10% chance she's going to leave when she gets out, and another 2% chance she's going to be a vegetable when she gets out. Wow. And my mom goes in, and by the time I get to see, and I call up and she's like, it's done. And we're not going to see Mom like this. And she pulled, we don't want to, no hospice, no nothing done.
Yeah.
And
how long ago was that?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
That was 2 years ago. And I'm gonna tell you, I had my son, and I used to dress my son. I have old pictures. I talked to my mom, and my relationship with anybody, and those amends that I made them, and I not only did I make those amends, but I kept on I was present in their life. So
Yeah.
they, like I helped them out. I didn't care where my mom stayed or where she lived or who she was with or my dad. Like I was there, and every Christmas, the holidays, whatever it was. And I took my mom out to dinner. I'm gonna tell you that the last Christmas before my mom passed away, my mom, she never really have much, but she was like this year. She was like, man, I got presents for you and the kids, and I was like, man, it just blew me away. And I went there and I dressed my son up and it looked just like me.
Oh,
it was so cute. My mom used to dress me up as a little cowboy with the boots and these blue jeans and this white T-shirt, right? The cowboy hat. She'd take me to the rodeos with her, and I have pictures of it. So I dressed my son up the same way, and we went to go see her grandma, and she'd just be looking at him, and we'd be sitting there. And my son is, I don't bad parenting back. I just let him run around. I'm just like, hey, go to a restaurant. Yeah, I'm like tired of trying to keep you here, but my mom was looking at him. My mom was looking at him, and I look at her, and I'd be like, does he look like me, Mom? And she'd be like, yeah. And he's like my identical twin, and,
She must have been was she just in disbelief that you even changed the cycle?
My mom, maybe my mom always had hope in me.
Okay.
Maybe she always believed and always had hope. And maybe she was when you talk about faith of people, I had people call me up after, years in sobriety, and they said, man, Garret, like I never stopped praying for you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get that? Like, I gave up on hope, but some people never give up hope on you.
Yeah, you're right.
And to see my mom the way, and to show her the way I was living, she knew her son 100% was in a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is your son now?
I got 7 and 4.
Okay.
I got full custody. My daughter's 20. I got a 7-year-old boy, and I got a 4-year-old boy. The 4-year-old boy is my little mini me. I got full custody, went through a full-on DCFS case, walked through every little bit of it.
With the mom?
No, against the mom. Like they removed him. Yeah, with the mom. They removed him from her and put him in my everything on my end was 100%. Like I'm through the state of California, I am
redeemed
and able to be a father and fit to be a father,
So what are you doing differently with him than how you were raised?
Everything. Okay. Love, compassion, just, communicating, just keeping them, I don't know. They talk about breaking the cycles and breaking the chains and doing all that stuff. And all I'm just trying to do is just break that cycle.
Yeah.
I hope that through all of it, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol, there's no fighting, there is nothing but love and compassion in every aspect of his life. And that's all. And that's you can't control it, but you can only just guide it to the best of your abilities. Right. And that's all I'm trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and think about how many things you didn't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm assuming you didn't play Little League.
I did play Little League. I played Little League. I played some soccer very young. I played Little League.
Well, you can bring him to Little League and keep him in it.
100%.
And all those things.
100%.
100%. That you see other families do.
Yeah. All that stuff that you thought was like weird. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
All church. I do all the stuff that I used to think was just like different. Is all the stuff that I do today.
Yeah. My last question.
Mm-hmm.
You went through the steps.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite step or like most impactful step, or what was your experience? It sounds maybe like the 5th step, but what was the most impactful?
I'm gonna tell you, there is no step that is more important than one you're working in your life today. But my go-to is always that 3rd step. I am one of the ones that love all the steps. Yeah. I love it, and what really is good is to stay vigilant in that 12th step. But
like service to others. Is
that my promise to my sponsor was that, hey, when I get done, I'll be your sponsor, right? But you got to promise me something, that after I take you through this book and we do the work, I need you to take somebody through this book and do the work with them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started sponsoring, it wasn't until I got into that working that work, that 12 step, like, and to find a God of my understanding and to carry this message, right? Is a find God and help others, right?
Yeah.
Find God, help others. I find God and I help others. I find God and God every single time that I'm working with others. I find like I be working with people who are talking and doing stuff and everything. I'm learning about me, but like when it gets into it, a step, man, like I love the steps.
Yeah.
But I was at this now, right, this period in my life right now, it had to be the third step,
Okay.
I turn my will and my life over to the care of God,
What does that look like for you in action?
I'm going to tell you what it looks like for you is this, is every day I wake up, and some days I wake up and we can't let, if you've been here, and maybe you know it too, you've been here for, but we can't let the gifts of recovery get in the way of gifts of recovery. And I could honestly wake up every single day of my life now and be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't really need to go to these meetings. I don't really need to help people. What they diagnosed in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is a real alcoholic, and I'm a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah. And if I'm not practicing this way of living, it'd be like no different than like saying that I got a membership to your gym, but and I'm like, and I don't go, but I'm like, why am I not getting the results?
Yeah.
Why am I not getting the results? Like I got a membership to your gym. Right. Like, why is it not working? Like I got a membership to AA, but I'm not going to AA. And I'm wondering why I still got a head that is bringing me down. And I get this thing that, and for me, for that third step, man, it's all about, man. I turn my will and my life over to your care of God as I find him, and, 1, we already know. 2, man, it's just an idea. 3 is that decision I make, man. And the longer we stay here and the more godly stuff that happened in my life, like walking through, like once my mom passed away, I had that reservation thinking, I'm good, but like if anything ever happens to my mom, it might take me out. Yeah. I'm going to tell you through the work that I done here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, from my dad passed, like everything that I never not once thought about taking a drink, trying to change the way I was feeling. Yeah. Like I walked through these emotions that were so, to this day still, like they were so, like just so obsolete and like so just like not knowing what it is. I did this, like how do you walk through that, man? It was only like, they say that you best have a relationship with God, because he's going to be the only one. Like when you're down to it and you're at the bar and you're sitting there with the drink, are you really going to call somebody to help you? Are you really going to like just start praying? No, like that relationship with God is going to be the most important thing you got, because he's the only thing that's going to distract, like make that cup knock over, to make it so like something happens tragically to where you don't use that day. Totally. Like that relationship with God, like we sit here and you think like it wasn't important to me. It was just like something like, but I hung out with people whose God was so big, and I watched them walk through stuff that was like by no testament, like God just walked them through stuff, man. Like stuff I never thought until I walked through that thing with my mom and my dad and all this stuff. And it was just like God. And I say this is that I, on a daily basis, and now I can wake up, and what it is that what happens is I take my will back. If I'm honestly and thoroughly working a program, and then what's my problem? My problem, right? Like what is it? Like money, finances, right. Relationship, right? Like I call my sponsor with the problem. Right. What is the problem? The problem is that all those things that I once gave away, right? I'm not fully letting go. Yeah. If I'm honestly and thoroughly turning my life, waking up in the morning and turning my will and my life over to God, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? Right. Are you lacking in faith? Are you lacking in trust? Yeah. Like, are you honestly and thoroughly, like sometimes, like I really want to control this. I think I know better sometimes. Right. I still want control. Still with double digits, man. Like I still want control. I got to humble myself still to this day, and I'm not in control. Everything happens good or bad. Like if you got to be grateful in the good times, you got to be even more grateful in the bad times. Yeah. You got to be able to walk through pain just as much as you can walk through joy. Yeah. Like if you come in here and I turn my will and my life over to the care of God, and every single day when I have a problem and a problem arises, it's just, hey, everything, like I heard this thing, and it's like a problem arises or something hits. I'm not here to hold on to it tighter. I take a step back. Yeah. And I just say, excuse me. You know, I let it be. I'm not here to, I lost my fight.
Yeah.
I don't need to win. I lost my fight when I came in here to live a life. I didn't come in here to fight, man. I cease fighting anyone and everything. If I can just stay in that third step, if I honestly, like when I sit down and like, God's will, not mine. God's will, not mine. I sit there at times like, God will not mine. Why am I still holding on to this? Why is it stuff that the rogue scenario stuff pops up? You're like, dang it, man, I gotta put more pen to paper. Like the hard, they talk about the work in Alcoholics Anonymous. They ain't talking about like, picking up a sponsee or picking up some newcomers and going to a service commitment or going and barbecuing the burgers at the 4th of July party. So remember what they're talking about? They're talking about picking up the heaviest thing you ever had to pick up. You had to pick up a pen. And you have to write, man. You have to write about the one thing you don't want to, and you have to look at what do you have to look at? I have to look at the one person I was running from all my life. Yeah. The one person I hated, I despaired, like I could not trust, I all that stuff, man, me, the relationship with me, and it's me. It's always me taking control of my life a lot more. I got to constantly remind myself, man, that like Garret, man, that you just have to have that faith. You just got to have that trust and that faith that God's going to work it out. And 100% time to this point in my life, he always has. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Always has. 99 of the things I think about in my head don't happen.
Totally.
But I sure think about them like they do. Yeah. Boy, I prepare too. Like, boy, I'm prepared, you know. But boy, they never happen. And I just think that you have to, you know, and I can't put it, you know, I didn't come into I wasn't a godly person. I don't go around preaching the Bible. Yeah. I don't go saying his word, but I'm a firm believer. Like he's in me. Like if we get down to it, like I'll start talking about it. But I ain't trying to scare the newcomer away. Yeah. I ain't trying to do that stuff. Like you got to come to the God and understanding of your own God. Right. You have to find him on your basis. That you have to do that soul searching. Right. Like whatever has to happen in your life for that to happen is going to happen. And I just know that like it, you know, all the work that it's not just like one, it's all that step. It's a 12-step process. The one thing I can't pronounce the most is that we get here and it's like that flow. The flow, like the 12 steps. Like people come here to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous or NA or stuff like that. They do the 12 steps and they stop. Yeah. Right? And it says in all the books, it says, and we continue to grow and to enlarge, you know, spiritually, physically, and mentally. And the best thing I can do is that if you've done the 12 steps in any program, it's a good start. Yeah. But all the work, all that stuff and the benefits really come when you start doing the 12 steps with somebody else and take them. The relief that we give our sponsors by having that, like we worked with our sponsors and went through the 12-step process and continue to work this life. Yeah. And we continue, what we do is we continue to take other people through it, man, because I learn more about me every single day by hearing about you. Yeah, totally. Right? Yeah. I grow because I maybe people are like, Garret, you just must be a really sick individual. I'm one of those guys. Like, I sponsor lots and lots and lots of guys, and they're like, they're like, dude, I'm like, they say the sicker you are, the more sponsees you have. Like, I'm sick, dude. I'm very sick. I'm very sick. I help a lot of people because I was that person out there, and I really, and yeah, you're right. I have a debt to that society or to fix because I was the opposite when I was out there. That the only way I could feel good about all the stuff that I'd done and is by helping other people, man. The simplicity of it, like I help, man. I want to help people, and I'm gonna tell you another thing that doesn't talk about enough is that and that love and that help, and it's really hard when we come in here. And this is what you have to learn is that we come in here, and it's very easy to come in here, and we're out there, and like we closed ourselves off, like we shut the door on anybody trying to get into us, right? And we come in here, it's very easy to come into the program, and we get in here, we get 36. Now we're just rays of sunshine, we got this joy, and we just love everything, right? But the one thing that we have to learn is it's not so much about loving other people. It's about how to receive love and to let people love us. Because for so long out there, we wouldn't let people love us. We wouldn't let them in. Yeah. And working with other alcoholics, working with the newcomers and taking them through the book, man, what it generally is doing is just teaching me to let somebody love me. For the one thing, I never thought somebody would love me. That's actually fascinating. I've never thought of it that way before. That working with other people is how we get to learn self-love. It's very... I love that. Yeah. Dude, thank you so much. You're welcome.
This was fun. This was awesome.
I'm glad.
I'm so glad we got to sit here and chat, and that you came. I've never had a guest in the studio before.
Nice.
I'm so glad you came with him. That's awesome. Where can everybody find all of your social media and stuff if they want to connect with you?
Garret McLendon, Garret McLendon on Instagram, 1R1T,
I'll tag everything,
Garret. She'll put it all up on there. Yeah, I love sharing and I love speaking. I just love it. I'm very passionate and loving about this because it saved me.
Well, your story in particular too. We know so many guys like you, right? They don't always recover with this background.
Right.
So many terms, being a felon, it's how you were raised. It's all you know. It is very, very hard to get from there to here. And so I think it's crucially important for a lot of us to share, but it's really, really important for you to share, right? Because that's a group that is definitely underserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not very believed in. And so I'm glad that you're in the world sharing, So
thank you.
Thank you so much for
Welcome.
being here.